Good morning, real estate students. Good morning, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. We are off and running. Today is the start of week 12 for your real estate education through our community. You're going to get a chance to meet my mentor, my mentor's mentor, my business partner, Rosie Rodriguez. This is going to be a really fantastic opportunity. We're going to talk about getting hired. So, of course, if this is your day one, welcome to class. This is a great place to start. If you're all the way in with us and you're starting week 12, that is great too. I'm excited to have you here. So we are going to bring Rosie Rodriguez. She's going to talk about getting hired, where to start your real estate career, and all of that good stuff. And I'm going to kick off this interview right now. Rosie, welcome to our community. How are you, my friend?
I'm very good. How are you, David?
I'm good. I appreciate you being here with us and making the time for us this morning on Monday morning. I know you're very busy. Can you please explain to everybody who you are and what it is that you do?
Sure. Well, my name is Rosie Rodriguez, and I've been a broker for over 20 years. And what I do is I'm in all things, have had the pleasure and opportunity to have grown a couple of real estate related businesses, a mortgage company, an escrow company group. And so our group now fairly large across the country. We've run real estate offices in the past as well.
I'm sorry, Rosie.
So,
I'm picking up on a little bit of an echo. Are you listening to the show on your cell phone, or do you have it nearby you? I'm just picking up on some feedback. Are you logged in from on two spots?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Just picking up on a little bit of an echo. I'll try to fix it on my end. Okay, so you said that you own an escrow company, you own a mortgage company, and some eXp offices.
Right. Am I still echoing? Yeah. I can try to move into a different area.
I don't think that will do it. I'm just going to try to bring down your inner mic volume and see if that helps. But let's just go ahead and continue. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and send the show to you and see if there's a way that I can fix the audio a little bit.
Okay. Okay, great. Where should I pick up?
Go ahead and jump in and tell people about how they can get hired if they're starting So right now, this is week 12 of our real estate education. We do have students that are already licensed. We have several students that are finders in our real estate education program, where they're generating leads as people who are finding and identifying people who need to buy and sell real estate. But right now, the biggest question for a lot of people in the real estate exam study group, the big question for a lot of people who are starting their career is, what brokerage should I pick? What team should I start on a team? Should I go solo? People are just sort of they just want the honest answers. And of course, you are from eXp. I am from eXp. That's part of what we're doing. Is, of course, we're creating this opportunity to expand our network. But you'll sit down and you'll give people an honest and fair, objective opinion about where they should start their career. So if you're sitting down with a new agent and they're asking you, where should I start? What do you tell them?
That's a great question. And I thought about 10 important things, that I would write down and I would go over. The very first thing would be that if you're having a meeting with someone, the very first question that I would ask them is, what is your experience? Okay. Because sometimes you come across individuals that maybe they've only been in the business for like a year or two, and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to grow a team. I'm ready to expand. However, they've maybe not had the opportunity yet to go through the trials and tribulations of that come with growth. So I would want to know about the person that I'm talking to, right? I want to know about their experience. What have they done? Have they coached? Have they mentored? Have they sold any real estate? Because sometimes you also have people that you're interviewing with that are more trainers as opposed to producers. So that's a number one question. The second question is, why did they decide to do this? Why did that team leader or that broker decide to open up an office or to take on this role as a team leader? That's super important, because sometimes the response can be geared entirely by a financial opportunity, and sometimes it's an intrinsic opportunity. So for example, I've had individuals that I've come across are like, oh my gosh, it's time for me to open an office because I'm tired of real estate, and I just want to be able to like take what I learn and let other people do it and just make a percentage. And that's fine, however, there's also conversations that you can have where someone says, you know what, I've done this at a really high level and I have a team that's working and I'd like to now be able to teach other people how to do this because I've always had a passion for teaching and helping other people thrive. So those are different conversations. It's really important that you listen to the words of the person that you're interviewing with. You are also interviewing them. You want to get to know them. They're the people that are going to be your mentors. If they're just kind of like a recruiter, then you want to make sure that these questions that I'm asking you are to the person in charge. Okay. Um, so why did they decide to come and teach and to mentor other individuals and to build their office? That being said, you could have all the desire in the world and maybe not have a structure in place. So I would also want to know, as question number 3, what are the kinds of classes that you offer? And right now my question would go into 2 parts. One is, tell me about the classes here in the office. Like, what kind of live classes do I have an opportunity to attend in person and or live via Zoom, right? Because live is live is live. But I would want to know what is available to me in terms of live curriculum. Then I'd also want to know what information is available to me online. Because even though some things are not uh, like live right now, like via Zoom, you do have pre-recorded material. And I would want to know what kind of pre-recorded material I have access to so that I can do it on my own time, especially if you're like a part-time agent going to full-time. You need the flexibility of being able to check things out like at 9 o'clock at night when the kids are asleep or on weekends or whatever it may be for you. So live classes, what's available, what are the topics? I'd like to see a copy of their training calendar. And then also what other tools and resources, whether they be pre-recorded materials or coaching programs or whatever it is, what other things are available to me. So that's super important. Now, all those things being said, you can have all the classes in the world, but I really believe that what you need when you start off is you really need to work with a mentor. This is because, and I tell people this all the time, you could learn all of the vocabulary that you like in terms of the real estate exam and passing your exam and getting your license, but that doesn't teach you how to drive. And the only way you learn how to drive is when you get behind the wheel. So the 4th question would be, tell me about your mentorship program. I want to be able to work hand in hand as a newer agent, hand in hand with a real estate professional, a mentor who's going to, kind of be my coach, right? And let me know, hey, you're saying this, maybe try saying it differently. Or we also want to have, can someone go out with me on that listing presentation, or will they sit with me with my buyer consultation? So mentorship is super important. And I have a little bit of a bias here because I've seen a lot of agents, and a lot of the times the question that people ask is like, well, how long have you been in real estate? And people say, oh, I've been in real estate for 5 years, or I've had my license for 10 years. Okay, guys, just because you have your license, that doesn't mean that, you've had the opportunity to gain all the experience. I believe that when you look for a mentor, you should stick with that mentor for at least a year if you're full-time, and maybe even 2 years if you're part-time. Now, this is, again, a personal opinion, and the reason is because you'll learn what happens in the first 2 or 3 transactions. So that's just kind of like an intro to real estate 101. This is what a contract is. This is what an escrow is. This is what happens first and second. This is what funding, going to funding means. This is what recording means. So you'll learn what things are, but how to maneuver is a whole other process. And so when I think of the adequate amount of mentorship, I I believe that it's based on the amount of experience that you have. How many transactions have you had the opportunity to work on or work on, work with someone else, like your mentor, right? So I think that a good dozen is a good foundation, a good dozen transactions. So if you could do a dozen transactions in 6 months, then you know what, you're off to a rock star start. If it takes you 2 years to do a dozen, well, it takes you 2 years to do a dozen. But that's my personal opinion, and this is because what's most important about getting into the real estate business is the training, the hands-on training that you're going to get in the beginning. And so these questions are super important. So typical responses that you'll have is like, well, we have a mentorship program, and the mentors meet once a week, or you might have a mentorship curriculum. So that's something else you would look for. Do you actually have a specific mentee curriculum? And also you'd want to see what that contract is binding you to, right? Is it a one transaction? Is it 5 transactions, 3? Is it a year? Whatever it is, look at the contract for the mentorship program. And also, since we're talking about mentorship, you want to have a job description for the mentor, okay? Because a lot of people talk about a mentorship program, but they don't define what that is. And then what you'll find is that sometimes the mentors are super busy because they might be mentoring 10 or 15 or 20 or 25, 30 people, right? So I would want to know what are kinds of things that I can count on for that mentor. Am I going to have weekly meetings, daily meetings? Can I call you on the cell phone? Can I call you on weekends? Will you come out with me on my first couple of appointments? What about contract review? Are you going to go over that with me line by line, or is it something where I prepare it and I shoot it to you, or do you prepare it and you teach me? Or maybe you did on the first one, second one, third one, I don't know. So all these are really good questions to ask of your mentor. Give me your job description, and then think of those questions that I just mentioned and ask your mentor that question. Okay, super important. The other question is, how many people are you currently mentoring? And what's your sweet spot, right? Because some people say, well, I don't like to take on more than like 10 people or 5 people, or I only mentor 3 at a time because I like to give them all my attention. Or I'm doing 30, I'm mentoring 30 people and I meet with them once a month, right? So asking those questions about the mentorship program is super important. Now, something else that I would ask is, most real estate agents, if you're a rock star, and of course, all of us get into this thinking we're going to like crush it, right? We're going to do all kinds of great business. And so I would want to know what the person that I'm interviewing with, what are your thoughts on teams? And you will get a different response here from different offices. Some offices are team friendly and some are not, okay? And so I'd say, well, how do you feel about if I bring on, like, if I team up with another individual, what if I decide to start my own team? How would that be treated? So the kinds of responses that could come out of that would be, well, we really don't believe that agents should work as a team. This is like a solo journey. And of course, you'll have your support staff, but we have found that teams are not very successful. That's one opinion. I believe teams are very, very successful, but that's my opinion. You could have the other response saying, we strongly nurture a team environment. And so when you're ready to start your team, this is the way it's going to look, right? This is the team structure. This is the team compensation structure that you would be looking at. This is how much we charge for the team leader, and this is how much we charge for the additional team members. So those are some of the things. Also, do you afford us, the space to learn and come together? Can we use the conference room? Or are there other team tools and resources that we can plug into? Do you have team training? If you are an office that nurtures the growth of teams, what kind of training do you have that is available for the teams? So those are good questions. Let's see here. All right, I think we have a summary going on. Great job, great job. Okay, another question. One thing is, like, you want to take a look at your contract. Okay, this is like the technical side, but some contracts can be very favorable for the agent, and some of them can be not so favorable for the agent. So you want to be able to take a look at the contract, one as a new agent, And then also, you know, as a team, right? Let me look at your team contracts. Let me look at your individual contracts. Some of the things that I would be pay attention to is, you know, are these contracts, do you have specific fees that are attached? Because I've seen that where they say, great, we're going to bring you on as an agent. This is your split, blah, 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 blah. And this contract is solid, or it's in place for 1 year. If the agent forfeits this contract, we're going to charge you a $2,500 licensing and training fee, or we're going to charge you $5,000, or we're going to, you know, out of your first transaction, we're going to hold on to like 50% of your check, and we're going to cash it if you leave within a year. Whatever it is, a lot of newer agents have, or offices have, new agent restrictions and or fees or penalties if for whatever reason it doesn't work out. And there's a million reasons why things could not work out. It could be that you moved. It could be that, you know, you and your mentor didn't work out well. It could mean that you decided that you didn't want to sell real estate anymore. Whatever the case, you would ask that question. Okay. Now, on that note, the other question number 7, would be, what if things don't work out? How is my business going to be treated? Okay. So what do I mean by that? Let's just say that you're rocking and rolling, and then, you know, you were thinking you were going to get all the support and training, and it didn't happen. It didn't work out. Fine. Everybody was busy. So then you decide that you're going to want to take your business elsewhere, right? So you can get more training and more support. But you happen to have like 2 deals in escrow, or 1 deal in escrow, and then you've got 2 listings, and you've got 1 buyer, you know, 2 pre-approved buyers, whatever the case is. So you have this business and you have these contracts. Something that agents don't realize is that the contracts belong to the broker. Okay, so you're an agent and you're like, hey, but that's my sister, or that's my cousin, that's my best friend, and we took that listing, and of course she was going to work with me. But every one of those contracts belongs to the brokerage. So if you decide that it doesn't work out, and you know, go to another office, how is that listing going to be treated? One, are they going to release it, right? Are they going to say, yep, you know, if you go, here you go, take your business, thank you so much, and we wish you the best, and the door's always open? Or are they going to say, well, thank you very much, you're welcome to go, but the business stays here with me? And you say, well, wait a minute, that's my best friend. Say, that's fine, but this is a real estate contract, and I as the broker own that contract, and we're going to go ahead and close it out. And then the client comes back and says, well, wait a minute, I don't want to work with you, Mr. Joe Company. I want to work with my best friend agent here. So I want to cancel. And they could even create a buzz for your best friend. So it's really important that you ask those questions. You know, if for whatever reason things don't work out, what will happen to my active listings? Can I take them with me? Will you release them? And you got to see that in writing. What about my escrows? Maybe you don't have any listings, and you maybe not have any buyers, but you have something in escrow. What will happen to the payment of that escrow? There's 2 things that are very common. One, I've seen where the brokerage says, well, you're welcome to leave at any time. However, when you do, anything that's in escrow, you're only going to get paid a referral fee on it. So we're going to give you 25%, and we're going to keep the balance, even though maybe you had a different split in place. Maybe you had a 70%, an 80%, whatever it is. But the minute that you left the office, they dropped your commission down on that escrow, which was about to close in a week. They dropped that down to 25%. So I've seen, you know, things in there, and what they say is basically, because you're no longer with the company, you can no longer represent the customer, and we have to assign somebody else to do that work. And so for that reason, we're going to reduce your commission. So I've seen that happen. The other thing that I've seen that happens is they say, okay, great. You know, with the escrows, those escrows are going to stay here because we're already in contract. It's a contract between the buyer and the seller. We're not going to cancel that. That's in place, and that is common practice. However, we're going to honor whatever we said that, you know, you were going to be compensated on with your original broker agent contract. And so I would look for that, because I think that's the right thing to do, right? But again, you know, different people operate differently. So it's really important that you ask about what happens if I leave, what happens to my listings, what happens to my escrows, specifically, will they be released? And also, what kind of percentage would I be penalized with if I had something in escrow, or would you honor the original agreement? So that is question number 7. Okay, on to question number 8. Since we're talking about percentages and what ifs, are you asking about, of course, the obvious questions? And you notice that I went through 1 through 7, and it isn't until question number 8 that I'm asking about fees and splits and all that jazz. And that's the next question. And the reason is because when you're wanting to succeed in real estate, these are the other questions that are more important, okay? The fees and the caps and the splits and all that, those are important. However, you know, if you're not going to get all the support, and you're not really clear on your contract, and you don't know what kind of training you're going to have, and you don't know what kind of mentorship there is, what does the split and the commission, like, what does that matter? It doesn't, because chances are you're not going to experience success if you don't have the right answers, the ones that you're looking for. And so once we get to question number 8, what is the commission split, right? And when you're asking about the commission split, it's really important that you ask, what is the, not just the percentage, right? Many times in most offices, and this is common practice, you'll have a certain commission and then you'll have a mentorship attached to it, or you'll have a lower split because they have to assign you a mentor or a trainer, okay? And that's common practice in just about every office. They don't want to just give you a license and then, oh my gosh, you know, what if something happens and the client loses their $15,000 deposit? So you want to ask about the split as a new agent, and then how does the split grow? What about after my mentorship, right? Sometimes there are splits that are production based, where you start out at a certain amount, and then after X number of transactions, they'll kick you up to the next notch, and then the next notch, or maybe it resets every quarter. Like if you close more than, you know, 6 transactions in a quarter, your split is so much. However, if you only close 1 transaction, then it's so much. So get really clear on what those splits are. And when you're talking about that, you also want to ask about franchise fees, okay? Because that's not something that is ever really talked about, franchise or royalties. So for example, you'll say, well, what's my commission split? And let's just say as a new agent, your commission split is 70% or 60%, whatever it is. So my commission split is 70%. And then you close your first deal, and then you go through your check and you're like, whoa, what happened here? What's this other 8% that you're charging me, or 6%? Like, we never talked about that. You know, I had a $10,000 check, and now all of a sudden I'm only getting like 4,000 or 5,000 or whatever it is. What happened? Well, what happened is that you had your split, and then you had your mentorship split, and then you had on top on the gross amount, that gross 10,000. They took like an 8% franchise fee, which goes to the, you know, big parent company. So that was like $800 or $600 or whatever it is. And so you want to ask about franchise fees or royalties. What else happens on that $10,000 check? All of a sudden you have this, you know, $175 errors and omission, or $125 errors and omission. So errors and omissions is something that every agent has to have, and it's either per transaction or it's an annual. And the agent is required to carry that insurance in case there is an error or an omission that leads to some kind of legal, you know, response or financial responsibility. And so most offices that I have seen do it on a per transaction deal. It can be anywhere from $50 to, you know, $400. You know, I've seen it all over the place, even 600 I've seen. So you want to ask, what are the fees associated with the transaction? And you'd like to see those in writing too, right? So franchise fees, errors and omission. Many offices also have administrative or processing or transaction processing or blah, 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 different kinds of junk fees that are applicable on every one of your transactions. And those can add up. So you might start off with a $10,000 check, and then you've got your commission split, and then you've got your royalties, and then you've got your errors and omission, and then you've got, you know, the office administrative something fee, right? So those are some of the ones that you definitely want to ask about. And then you also obviously want to ask about your monthly dues, right? Is there a desk fee, or is there a technology fee, or is there an educational fee? What are those fees? If I come to class, are you going to charge me when I come to class? What kind of technology is available, and do I have to pay for it? And what about a desk? Can I come in and I use a desk, or do I have to pay a desk fee? Right? And if you want an office, of course, you know, what are the qualifications for me to have an office, and then how much would I have to pay? So these are all the questions that you would want to ask. You know, commission splits, caps, royalties, franchise fees, errors in admission, admin or review, all that good stuff. That's question number 9. Okay, I'm sorry, number 8. Now we're off to question number 9. Now, this is something that maybe isn't asked too often, but what the heck, you should definitely ask, because there's different kinds of companies that are starting to offer different kinds of incentives. So one of the questions is, what are the other benefits? Like, what are the benefits that the real estate office or this company offers? And when I talk about benefits, there are some companies that have health plans. So tell me about the health plan that you might have to offer. Or what about stock incentives, right? You want to know if there's, you know, some kind of stock opportunity, if it's a publicly traded company, or if there's some kind of, you know, profit sharing, or if there's some kind of you know, other perks, you know, of being part of that office. Again, health is maybe one, or maybe a savings plan. I don't know. Could be a number of things, but that would be a really great question to ask. And then finally, I think my question number 10, you know, when you're new in the business, you're just thinking about, how do I learn? I really want to get into this. I have a couple of friends and family that, you know, I know would definitely use me because they trust me and all that good stuff. So in the beginning, you're not thinking about this, but it's super important that you ask this question, because you always want to be able to have like a long-term plan and vision for your business here. This is your business. It's not just a job. You can treat it like a job. You can show up to work every day, and that's good. However, this is a career, and you're looking for what's this going to look like tomorrow. So what are the growth opportunities? How about that one? And when I talk about that, let's say that you're like, hey, what if I rock and roll here and I'm doing fantastic, and I decide that I want to grow my team, and we already talked about that. You know, what kind of support, what are the growth opportunities that you, Mr. Broker or Miss Office or whatever it is, what are the growth opportunities that there are for me here? What if I have a passion for teaching and training? What are those opportunities? What does it look like? And then, hey, like ultimately, what do we all say? One day, and I hear this often, one day I want to be a broker, right? And I'd like to kind of grow an office, and I'd like to do what you guys do. And so tell me about what that path looks like. You know, are there opportunities for me to grow in that space? And to maybe 2 years from now, I'd like to be my own broker too. What are the growth opportunities that are available to me here? And then ask them, you know, ask them about what that growth opportunity translates to financially, because many of the times you ask that question, you're like, hey, I'd really like to be a broker one day. Well, why don't you talk to the broker and ask him, like, tell me about the financial aspects of that opportunity. Tell me about what that looks like on a monthly basis. What's the overhead involved in running an operation? What's the liability? You know, what are the expenses? All these questions are super important. So if you're really looking to get the best possible, make the best possible choice, ask these questions and go around and ask, you know, 3 or 4 different, you know, places. Make sure you do your homework and get all the answers and all the responses. And sometimes it's like the same brand. Okay, by the way, let me say that, because you'll go to an office, but this is this is ABC office for ABC brand, and you'll go to ABC brand over here and ABC brand over here, but they're different owners. So it might be that you're just visiting different individuals inside different brands, and also comparing different brands, because every brand is going to have their certain packages that are available, but ultimately you're also going to be interviewing the individual that you're going to be working with, or the team or the office that you're going to be working with. So those are my top 10, and I don't know if you guys have any additional questions. You guys can always, shoot me a text. I see that David was so nice to put my information up there, but this is about getting hired. If you'll notice, all of these questions, or most of them, were you interviewing, the people that you're being interviewed by. Why? Because this is a partnership. Okay, when you jump into an office, it should feel like a partnership. It should feel like you have joined an office, you have joined this broker, and they're offering up their time and their energy to help support you and guide you. And then you're also offering up your time and your energy to help, help the team grow, help the office grow.
Oh, 1 second here. Let me go ahead and add you back in. Let me go. Sorry about that. All right, act like
Wow,
you've done this
great
before,
notes.
my Serpa. Okay, that was a great class. I appreciate all of that. Do you have time for a few questions, Rosie?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Let me go ahead and check the Zoom group, check the Facebook, and I will also check around the office to see if anybody has any questions for us. 1 second here. Okay. All right. Okay. Alexa, Amy, Christy, Barbara, any questions about getting hired or where to start your career or anything that Rosie discussed? Please feel free to let me know. Did you want me to unmute you, Alexa? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me see. And then Facebook. All right. Okay. Well, that was pretty comprehensive. I love that you got into ownership there on the call, and that you talked about. Hey, listen. Most of these questions, remember, it's you asking, somebody else. It's you interviewing your team lead, your broker, your trainer, et cetera, and so forth. It's not a one-way street. It's not like you're getting hired to work at a job. This is your business. And so it was a great class. I appreciate you joining us. Amy, did you have anything? Okay, cool. All right, Monday morning. I think everybody's hustling. Everybody's on the run. Rosie, how can people get a hold of you, my friend?
They can always text me. My cell phone's up there, and just shoot me a text. Please don't leave me a voicemail because that's not going to get answered. So just text me, please. And I'm really good about responding. And then, we can kind of have a more of an in-depth, specific conversation about whatever it is that, you're kind of spinning around in your head. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, my friend. Well, enjoy the rest of your Monday. I appreciate you making the time for us.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing day and have an amazing career.
Thank you,
See
Rosie.
you later.
Bye. Okay. Fantastic. There it is. Getting started, getting hired. That was Rosie Rodriguez. That's my mentor. That's David Golden's mentor. That's Stuart Jacobson's mentor. She was talking about where to start your career. What are some great questions to ask? And what do you need to know when you're getting started? Of course, everybody asks me, well, what if I want to become a team lead? What if I someday want to become a broker? I encourage you to be in a situation where you can outgrow your team lead, outgrow your broker, et cetera, and so forth, and that they're not going to be threatened by it. There's a saying in Zen, and that is, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Well, when the student is truly ready, the teacher goes away, because then the student's ready to also become the master, also pass along this knowledge that they've earned. So I appreciate everybody taking the time to spend with us this Monday morning. My name is David Serpa. You can always reach me at 951-691-7798. I run our community here and the Serpa team here in French Valley. Amy, happy Monday.
Happy Monday, my brother.
Moms, happy Monday. Happy Monday, Barbara. Happy Monday, Alexa. Happy Monday, Christy. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut the Facebook and the YouTube link at this point and say if you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so. If you want to reach out to Rosie, feel free to do that. I will keep the Zoom class open for just another moment to see if anybody had some questions. All right, everybody, have a great day. Happy Monday. Get after it. Adios.